Hello and welcome to the first video of this course about electric vehicles or EVs in short. So this video is just an introduction so that just to get you all started about this electric vehicles where we will basically be discussing about the electric vehicles, their history, modern electric cars, and finally how important these electric cars are to us and our environment. Okay, so let's get started with this. So, like I said, the first thing that we will discuss is what is an electric vehicle, how you can define and differentiate an electric vehicle from other types of vehicles, and then we will discuss about the history, and then about the modern electric cars, and finally, why do we actually need these electric cars? Okay, so how exactly do we define an electric vehicle? On one hand, we have our conventional vehicles, which you are quite familiar with. These conventional vehicles have an internal combustion engine or an IC engine which burns the fuel you put in, that can be petrol or diesel, and then it emits smoke through the exhaust pipe which contains all the pollutants. Okay, so basically there are two key elements of any type of vehicle. That is, the first thing is the source of energy, and the second is the driving unit like the engine. So for our conventional electric vehicles, the source of energy is either petrol or diesel. It burns and produces power from that fuel, and the driving unit is the engine, which converts that fuel into mechanical motion and moves our car. Now, just remember these two sources, these two key elements of any vehicle. The first is the source of energy, and then second is the driving unit. So for an electric vehicle, an electric vehicle is a vehicle which uses electricity stored on a battery to power an electric motor, which converts the electricity to mechanical and moves the vehicle. So, the difference for the electric vehicle, the source of energy is electricity, and the driving unit or the propulsion unit is the electric motor. Now, throughout the course, I will be using the term EV of for the electric vehicles, and also our focus will be on electric cars specifically. But EVs can be used to refer all types of battery or electric vehicles like a electric powered bus, a truck, and it can be an aircraft. It can be a surface or underwater vehicle, that is, a electric boat or an electric submarine. So, like I said, in an electric vehicle, we have a powerful electric motor which is powerful enough to deliver sufficient torque to move a car, and a power source which is a traction battery. That is this one. We have a battery which is made up of multiple cells connected in series. So this battery stores all the electric charge and dissipates it to the motor accordingly. And then we also need to charge this battery from time to time. So we should have a charger built into this vehicle which we call an onboard charger, that we will be discussing every detailed aspect of these electric vehicles throughout the course. So this is it, the electric motor which drives our vehicle. It gives power to the driving wheels. We have a battery which stores all the electric charge, and there is an onboard charger which, when you plug into a power source, it will charge the electric battery, and this battery will store that charge and dissipates it throughout the journey. So this is the what you can call an electric vehicles. Now, about the history of the electric vehicles. The history of today's electric vehicle goes way back to the 19th century, and it basically started with the invention of an electric motor, which was around 1827. After that, inventors tried to use that motor to power tiny wagons to push around some loads, and also new improvements were made to the electric motor over the years. But there was a massive obstacle as to how can one store electric current, because the batteries were not still invented. That was until 1859 when a French physicist, Gaston Plant, invented a lead acid battery which was capable of storing some amount of charge. Then again, over the years, many improvements were made to the battery as well. And finally, the first human carrying electric vehicle with its own power source was tested in Paris on April 1881, invented by Gustave Trove. He presented it in the International Exposition. Then, in 1884, an English inventor named Thomas Parker, who was responsible for many innovations such as electrifying the London Underground, overhead tramways in Liverpool and Birmingham, and the smokeless fuel that we call colite. So, these are all the things that he worked for and he invented. And he also built the first production electric car in 1884. But we only have the images for the documentation or for the proof. There are no physical evidences, or there is no the actual wagon that you can see or be in a museum. Okay, so since more and more companies started to show interest in electric vehicles, people wanted to invest more and more in these EVs or electric vehicles, which led to a rapid development of these vehicles. And France and the United Kingdom were the first nation to support the widespread development of these electric vehicles. And then a German engineer called Andreas Flocken built the first real electric car in 1888, as you can see in this image. So this is actually a electric powered car, or you can say simply a wagon. So basically what they did was, this was a horse driven wagon. Okay, so these were basically pulled by the horse. So what they did was they replaced these horses with with an electric motor and a battery backed up to power these wheels, so which gave us an electric vehicle of that time. That was around 1888. Okay, then in the late 19th century, that was around 1897, Walter Bursey designed many electric cabs or taxis, which are to be used as a mean of public transport by the common people. And because of the very unique buzzing sound that these electric taxis made, they were nicknamed hummingbirds. So basically, from the year 1890s to early 1900, electric cars were very popular. Everyone was a huge fan of these cute little wagons named hummingbirds. And this was the time when people were using steam engines, which used to take about 45 minutes just to start up on a cold morning. The IC engine was also very primitive and not so effective. Okay, so on the other hand, these electric vehicles did not had any vibrations, smell, and noise like the internal combustion engine or steam engines. So this time period, that is from 1890s to the early 1900, can be marked as a golden era of electric vehicles. But then the things started to take a turn. The world started to move towards development. Government started building broad, solid roads, and these roads mean that the people can now travel longer distances at a faster speed. And this is where the electric vehicles fell behind. They are not fast and they cannot cover larger distances before they need charging again. So electric cars of that time had a top speed of around 24 to 32 kilometer per hour, and they can only cover about 50 to 60 kilometers before they need recharging. So worldwide discoveries, again the discoveries of large petroleum reserves led to the wide availability of affordable fuel, that is petrol and diesel. The prices of the petrol and diesel was very minimal, making fossil fuel powered car cheaper. So people wanted to buy petrol cars instead of battery vehicles now, because it is much easier, much less costly, and you can simply travel anywhere without considering the battery charge and having to think about recharging the battery, because you cannot just charge an electric vehicle at that time anywhere. Even in today's date, you cannot just say, yeah, I will charge the battery on the go. You need to have a proper outlet for that purpose. Then again, with the development of IC engine and cheap and highly available petrol and diesel, conventional internal combustion engine vehicles proved to be more practical as they were cheaper to maintain and were hence more cost effective. And also, IC engine cars were fast, reducing the traveling time and provided more range. With all this, the use of electric cars was limited to the areas where their short range was not a concern, like milk delivery trucks and forklifts in factories. Okay.